Hi, my name is Jamie Dragonetti, and for my second presentation, I have chosen an article from The Economist, and it is titled Many People Are Moving from California to Texas. It is an article that focuses on the high taxes and the high cost of living that people in California are being subjected to, not only the residents, but the business owners as well, and what's happening because of this. So who's leaving California? Who's moving? Large wealthy companies, everyday low income taxpayers, and pretty much everyone in between. Between 2007 and 2016, a net 1 million American residents, or about 2.5% of the state's total population, left California for another state. Texas was the most popular destination, and this attracted 25% of the people who left the state. It said that more Americans have left California than moved there every year since 1990. So their population of workforce oriented people is declining and really hurting their tax budgets. Because of the amount of people that have left over the years, this has severely weakened California's position. And so the main question we want to ask ourselves is, why is everyone going and no one is coming? Like, what are the reasons? And there are four. The number one reason that people are leaving California is housing. Um, It's really expensive to live there, especially for housing. A third of Californians are thinking of moving out of the state because of the high cost of housing. And according to the Public Policy Institute of California, a not-for-profit research firm, most people leaving are the ones who earn less than $50,000 a year and only have a high school education. I mean, this is a place where the ultra rich are thriving and everyone else is suffering. This leads employees being completely happy with their employer saying, hey, we're opening up an office in Texas. Who would be willing to relocate? And a lot of employees are, jumping at that opportunity. It states in the article, um, a professor at Chapman University, Joel Kotkin, he's quoted saying, from the perspective of a young, upwardly mobile family, California is nearly impossible unless you have rich parents or rob a bank or get money from your firm going public. Ownership rates are at its lowest since 1940. People aren't buying, they aren't staying, they just want to get out. Housing just costs way too much. The second reason for California's positioning is weakening is their taxes. California has the highest state income tax rate for their top earners, and it's an outlandish rate of 13.3%. Now, Texas doesn't charge a state income tax, so moving there is really appealing, especially now that there's been recent changes to the tax code, and you're no longer allowed to deduct state and local taxes from your federal payments. So these earners are going to have another incentive to want to leave the state, which really is hurting California because it's quite a bit of money on top of what they were already facing. The third reason California has kind of found themselves in this predicament, and the main reason business owners are leaving California, is the hands-off approach that California has kind of provided with this. And it was quoted in the article, a Mr. Newsom. He is a part of the economic council in California, and he states that he thinks that we rested on our laurels a bit. We put up our feet and talked about the old days, and really they're just everyone still has this notion that you want to go to California, start up a tech company, move to Silicon Valley, you know, make boatloads of money. And the problem is that it's getting too hard to do that based on taxes and regulations and fees. And there's no promotion of business there. So with Texas, Texas has become a very business forward state, and there was a politician who was the governor. He was governor until 2015, Rick Perry, and he actually traveled to other states. He called these his hunting trips, where he basically went to other states that had really bad tax laws and were not pro-business. And he said, hey, come to our state. We want you. We have no state tax. We don't have all this crap that you have to pay. And with his approach, he's gotten a lot of business for Texas, and a lot of people have left California. And with California not intervening with them doing this, they've created this message that they're indifferent and they just really don't care if you stay or you go. And business owners who don't feel looked out for and cared for will leave. And it's in the proof that they are. The fourth reason for California's weakened state is its heavy regulations. Now, they have really burdensome occupational licensing agreements, and it's not just on larger agreements that you think, like larger licensings. It's really hard, and it costs a lot of money just to get licensings for low and moderate income jobs, such as tree trimming and cosmetology. And so it makes it really hard for low income earners to work for themselves and to make, a decent amount of money because they're just small. Because of this, they are ranked 25th on CNBC's best states for business, whereas Texas is ranked the first. Like, they are really strong in their small business owners and their large businesses. They are so pro business that California just looks crazy on their list. And the crazy part about all of this is that they have the most educated workforce and stronger innovation than any other state. They have the highest number of educated people in their workforce, and yet they are still ranked last place for their friendliness and cost of doing business for commercial businesses. And it's like you go and you get an education to work in California, and yet it was a waste of time and money, because if you stay there, it's not being utilized. It's almost like you go to California, you live the dream while you're in school, and then you take the skills that you've learned in that state and you move to another one and utilize them and let other states capitalize on your training and invest in you to help invest in their own state. And California is missing a huge incentive in that aspect, as to where they're just overlooking everything that they do have, and it's hurting them because of these regulations. These four reasons are California's core problems. Their economic policies are failing them, and they do need to provide a change. The ways that they can do this is increasing affordable housing. We have areas that are outside of larger hubs like Silicon Valley, which is an area that is so rich in just expense and cost of living, that has driven up the price for everybody else. So these poorer areas around are now being called super commuter areas because people are living there because it's the only place that they can afford to live, but they are commuting upwards to 90 minutes and sometimes more, sometimes 2 hours just to get to work in areas like Silicon Valley because they can't afford to live there. And the difference between the wealth gap that is Silicon Valley and then the areas around it, but that offer no businesses around it, are just getting bigger and bigger because the other businesses that aren't as large as the ones that are in Silicon Valley are leaving. So it's leaving these areas and they're getting poorer and poorer while these larger businesses in Silicon Valley that are operating online or having employees that they can pay at a lower rate because their cost of living is lower, they're getting bigger and bigger and they're making more money, and it's just the gap is getting larger and larger, and with the state not giving businesses incentives to stay and to operate in these poorer areas, or to give these people who don't live in Silicon Valley an opportunity to have better opportunities of employment, is really hurting them, and it's just creating a larger divide. And if they were to just adopt a more pro-business strategy like Texas, I feel that they would just have a turnaround. They would just start doing better. Businesses would want to come back to the state. They would start having more growth. And the problem is that they are a Democratic state and they are not pro-business. They are pro taxation, they are pro free services, and they are about taking from one to be able to give to another instead of giving incentives for that one to then give themselves to the other. They have created themselves as the bridge or the middleman to help out the lower poverty community members while trying to force the businesses and upper community members to support it instead of just letting business and that entire just industry check and balance itself and take care of its own people. And that is where we've run into this problem, and California is getting to the point to where it can't fix itself and it's just going to end up failing, and the government is probably going to have to step in my opinion, and massively overhaul and fix it. And that is my opinion and my summary of this article and how California is, their policies are failing. And I hope that you enjoyed it. I know it was decently long. Please give me a couple questions and feedback, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.